I'll call this meeting to order. The Champaign County Board, Thursday, September 20th, 2007, is 7:03. Please call the roll.
Langenheim.
Here.
McGinty.
Here.
Moline.
Here.
Mosier. O'Connor.
Here.
Putman.
Here.
Richards.
Here.
Sapp.
Here.
Schrader.
Here.
Tapley. Wysocki.
Here.
Anderson.
Here.
Beckett.
Here.
Benzel. Betts.
Here.
Carter. Coert. Denitz.
Here.
Gladney. Gross. Hoag. Hunt.
Here.
James.
Here.
Jay.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Knott.
Here.
Weibo.
Here. We have a quorum. The prayer for tonight is the Old Farmer's Prayer, and because it's so long, I'm only going to read the first half. I'll read the second half next month. And this is especially for Mr. Mosier and all the other farmers. Time just keeps moving on. Many years have come and gone, but I grow older without regret. My hopes are in what may come yet. On the farm I work each day. This is where I wish to stay. I watch the seeds each season sprout from the soil as the plants rise out. I study nature and I learn to love the earth and feel her turn. I love her dearly in all the seasons, for I have learned her secret reasons. All that will live is in the bosom of earth. She is the loving mother of all birth, but all that lives must pass away and go back again to her someday. My life too will pass from earth, but do not grieve, I say, there will be other birth, when my body is old and all spent, and my soul to heaven has went. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would the clerk read the notice of the meeting?
Notice is hereby given that a regular meeting of the County Board, Champaign County, Illinois, will convene on September 20th, 2007, 7 p.m. in the Lyle Childs Meeting Room, Brookins Administrative Center, 1776 East Washington Street, Urbana, Illinois, in said county for the purpose of allowing and ordering payments of claims against the county, receiving and acting upon reports of committees, and such other matters as may be brought before said meeting shall continue in session from day to day until the completion of said business.
Move adoption.
Second by Mr. Carter. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. I seek approval of the minutes of the August 23rd, 2007 regular session. Moved by Mr. Carter, second by Ms. Wysocki. Discussion?
Second.
No, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Seek approval of the agenda and the addendum.
Move adoption.
Second by Ms. Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Date and time of our next regular meeting is Thursday, October 8th, 2007 at 7 p.m. I note that that's earlier.
18th.
I'm sorry?
You said 8th.
Oh,
It's the
18th. I just note that that's earlier than usual in the month. Public participation. Mr. Williams?
Chair Weibel, County Board members. In 2002, the voters of Champaign County approved a referendum for an operating subsidy and capital improvement bond for the Champaign County Nursing Home. This came after the nursing home operated in the red for 8 of the previous 10 years. The voters of Champaign County obviously care about the nursing home and wants the county to continue dealing with its business affairs. There's an obvious need for the nursing home to have. There's also an obvious need for the nursing home to have financial stability. The question is, how do we go about this and come up with a solution for all the problems? On September 11th, during a joint session of the Justice and Social Services Committee and Policy, Personnel, and Appointments Committee, a new form of governance was discussed, as well as the potential hiring of a private management consulting service. This new form of governance involves having a group of professionals oversee the day-to-day operations of the Champaign County Nursing Home. In my opinion, this just further insulates the county board from potential problems that could happen that would arise from the nursing home, and this is not what the voters intended when they approved this operating subsidy. Also, the potential hiring of a private management consulting firm, let's just call it what it is. It's a step toward privatization. This too further insulates the county board from problems arising from the nursing home. I find it strange that the nursing home administrator would pursue an idea that could potentially outsource his job. If the nursing home administrator does not feel that he can do the job himself, why does he not just resign and allow the county to pick a new administrator? This leads to the questions. I'm sorry. If the administrator does indeed feel that another entity could do his job, why does he not just resign? One never wants to succumb to speculation. However, people normally do not campaign for options that could potentially make their job irrelevant, unless, of course, they have other motives. This leads to the following questions. What promises have been made? Has a consulting firm been hired? And if so, what is the role of the current administrator with this new consulting company? In addition, what seems to get lost in the discussion is the cost of hiring a new private consulting company. If it costs more to hire a private firm to manage a nursing home, if it costs more than that than to pay a nursing home administrator, isn't that a step in the wrong fiscal direction? Also, if this plan were to go ahead, it would be a slap in the face to all of the union members that took a wage freeze to keep the nursing home going and financially solvent. If the county board does embark on this journey toward eventual privatization, what's next? Will we fire the union workforce at the nursing home and replace them with private non-union contractors? While I'm in no way contending that that the county board's intention is to deprive, insult, or trick its constituents, I'm also concerned that the adoption of the aforementioned recommendations would place us on a very slippery slope. I'm also concerned that the meetings that were supposed to inform the public of the benefits of this new plan were not entirely open in public. The News Gazette reported that minutes of these meetings were not available for public review, and this concerns me. They had to settle for reconstructed minutes, and I've seen these reconstructed minutes, and they don't tell us much. There are a lot of questions. There are still a lot of questions that needs to be answered. As a taxpayer, as a citizen, and as a voter, I demand we all, the residents of Champaign County, need answers. We need solutions, and we need more accountability. Please don't brush this off to another board. Take responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public participation? Being none, we'll go on to announcements and communications. Brendan or Steve, you have one?
Yes. Last Sunday was Jack Ritzman's 90th birthday. Jack Ritzman and his wife Marjorie are exemplary citizens of our community. They are great philanthropists. They have supported so many projects and philanthropic components of our community. And of course, Jack is the major donor for the Clock and Bell Tower. And on behalf of the Citizens Committee to restore the Clock and Bell Tower, we want to wish Jack a happy and hearty 90th birthday.
Thank you, Steve. Brendan.
At everyone's desk are two things from Maximus. They've completed their information technology assessment, and there's a copy of their presentation as well as the very detailed report. And I encourage everyone, as we look 5+ years down the road, to look at their recommendations, and because we will be working through this in upcoming years.
Thank you. Mr. Graymore?
Thank you. Also, before you is a memorandum from me reminding all of us of the upcoming Employee Recognition Program that's scheduled for the week of October 22nd, and we are in the process of soliciting door prizes. So, and we have letters that have also been distributed and going out to businesses and organizations throughout Champaign County, those who would like to donate something for drawings at this program. And this is an opportunity for board members also, if you'd like to provide a gift for a door prize. Also, with that is a sample of a poster that will be circulated throughout our workforce to remind our employees of the upcoming event. As you might recall, there's 4 events. One's Tuesday, October 23rd at the courthouse. 23rd or 24th will be here at Brookins, 25th at the nursing home, and then RPC will be doing an employee recognition program November 20th. 4 separate events to provide our employees with recognition for their long service to the county. And also, it may be going around, there's a sign-up sheet for any board member who would be able to participate during any one of those programs. Those would be midday programs, luncheon programs. If you would be available and able to come and be a part of those presentations, it would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Ron. Ms. Putman?
I received a communication that, well, it surprised me when I saw the envelope because I don't get much mail that's hand addressed to me with a return address that's handwritten and no barcodes or labels. It was from Jensen on Pond in Urbana, and I couldn't imagine who this Jensen was. This Jensen was Judge Harold Jensen, and he wrote a letter that I think is a class act. He wrote that as honorary co-chairs of the Courthouse Clock Tower Committee, Pat and I express our thanks to you for your support of the tower extension and the exterior repairs of the 1901 courthouse building. The committee has worked very hard to raise some $850,000 to assist the county with the tower portion of the project, and we will devote all effort to continue the fund drive to reach our stated goal. I think maybe 26 other people received this classy letter, so I won't read all of it, but I want to say thank you very much to Judge Jensen and his wife Pat for communicating with us in such a lovely manner.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Seeing none, we'll move on to number 10. Mr. Betts.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of Resolution 6176 approving the proclamation designating September as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month in Champaign County, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Normally I would read this and give this to a member of, I think, from the Prairie Center Health System, but that person could not make it tonight, so I will not be reading it. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Ms. Putman.
I propose the adoption of Resolution 6167, a tribute to and thanksgiving for the life of Marilyn Garman Starks, which is on pages 15 and 16. And before I read this resolution, I will pass around an obituary from the Champaign News-Gazette from August and a beautiful program from a memorial service for Marilyn. It was held in August at Salem Baptist Church in Champaign. And when you look at the program, do turn the pages and look at the beautiful pictures of this woman with the big brown eyes and the magnificent smile, who was our one of our anti-recidivism specialists and worked to prevent juvenile delinquency. I'd like to say that preparing...
Second by Ms. Anderson. Thank you. Go ahead.
Preparing this resolution was a shared labor among several members of our Champaign County family, none of whom could have expected to be drafted to the task of giving thanks for the life of one so young. Marilyn would have been just 31 on her September birthday, September 1st this year. Peter Tracy drafted the bulk of the resolution, and I know it was difficult for him because he told me he had hoped to have Marilyn Garman Starks as a colleague for decades to come. And Connie Kaiser, the director of our Juvenile Detention Center, and Joe Gordon of our Court Services Division gave their blessings to this resolution and shared some of their thoughts with me. And I wish to thank Patricia Avery, our former county board chair, and the woman who recruited Marilyn to work for the Champaign-Urbana Area Project. And I'd like to note that Jan Anderson, Catherine Hogue, and I were pleased to be able to represent the county at the memorial service for Marilyn in August. And now I will read the resolution. Whereas Josephine and Timothy Garman of Chicago, Illinois, raised a most remarkable daughter, Marilyn Denise Garman, along with Marilyn's brothers Sean and Timothy Jr. and her sister Michelle. And whereas Marilyn Garman came to Champaign-Urbana, Illinois, to study at the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign and work toward a bachelor's degree with double major in sociology and history, and here embarked upon her life's mission of advocacy for children. And whereas Marilyn brought to Champaign-Urbana the organizing skills she had begun to develop at the Kenwood Oakland Community Organization in Chicago, and built on this skill in leading both the largest African-American Girl Scout troop in Champaign and the Frederick Douglass Youth Academy in Champaign, in serving on the board of directors of the University of Illinois YWCA, in directing the Youth Council and serving as secretary of the Champaign County branch of the NAACP, and in coordinating the Mentoring Your Sisters and Superstar programs in Champaign. And whereas Marilyn served as the delinquency prevention specialist at the CU Area Project, in which capacity she coordinated and monitored the juvenile post-detention and anti-recidivism programs funded by Champaign County's public safety taxpayers. And whereas Marilyn brought her extensive training and expertise in matters related to the prevention of juvenile delinquency to programs funded by the Champaign County Mental Health Board, which programs included the system of initiative care known as Project Access, designed to meet behavioral health needs of youth involved with the justice system in Champaign County. And whereas Marilyn caringly advocated for youth of color in her work on disproportionate minority confinement and worked tirelessly to mobilize the communities of Champaign County to better meet the needs of all youth and their families. And whereas Marilyn was a skilled communicator and community leader, known for wisdom and maturity beyond her 30 years, and for fairness and a willingness to hear all points of view, and for her ability to make everyone feel respected and heard. And whereas Marilyn was initiated into one of the greatest of life's joys on March 25th, 2006, when she became Mrs. Marilyn Garman Starks, the wife and loving partner of Michael Bernard Starks. And whereas members of the Champaign County Board, Champaign County Mental Health Board, and staff and directors of the Champaign County Juvenile Detention Center and Court Services Department learned with profound sadness of the June 22nd passing of Marilyn Garman Starks. And whereas Marilyn will be remembered by youth who were able to change the course of their lives because of Marilyn's intervention, and by her friends and colleagues who learned from her words and deeds. And whereas the passing of Marilyn Garman Starks has left a void in the lives and hearts of her family, friends, and colleagues to whom she brought happiness and affection, therefore be it resolved by the Champaign County Board that we give thanks for the life of Marilyn Garman Starks, and extend sincere condolences to her family, whose grief we share. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be presented to the family of Marilyn Garman Starks as an expression of our deepest sympathy. Presented, adopted, approved, and recorded this 20th day of September, 2007.
Thank you, Ms. Putman. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Betts, could you
Move
combine the next two?
Yes. I move adoption of Resolution 6174 and 6175 and 6174 honoring retiring county employee James Gowdy, and on 6175, Robert Weston, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. James. I will read these. It'll be sort of a combined reading. Whereas James Gowdy was employed continuously by Champaign County from March 3rd, 1981 until July 14th, 2007 as a deputy sheriff, and Robert Weston was employed continuously by Champaign County from August 17th, 1981 until September 11th, 2007 as a deputy sheriff. Whereas both James Gowdy and Robert Weston admirably served the citizens of Champaign County with their full commitment to their responsibilities as deputy sheriffs, to work in partnership with fellow deputy sheriffs and officials of Champaign County, and with their full commitment, service, and dedication to the best interests of all the people of Champaign County. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the County Board of Champaign County hereby recognizes that the service of James Gowdy and Robert Weston were assets to the citizens of Champaign County and expresses gratitude and sincere appreciation for their 26 years of service. Both of them worked for us for 26 years. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to James Gowdy as a dedicated and faithful Champaign County employee with our sincere appreciation, and that a copy of this resolution be presented to Robert Weston as a dedicated and faithful Champaign County employee with our sincere appreciation. Presented, adopted, approved, and recorded this 20th day of September 2007. And would Mr. Weston and Mr. Gowdy please step forward?
Vote.
Better
We need a vote.
All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, consent agenda. Are there any items which board members wish to pull off the consent agenda?
Move approval of the consent agenda.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Roll call.
Langenheim. McGinty. Moline. Mosier. O'Connor. Putman. Richards.
Yes.
Sapp. Schrader.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Cowart.
Yes.
Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney. Gross. Hoag. Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes. Motion carries. Committee reports. Justice and Social Services. Ms. Anderson.
Mr. Chair, Justice and Social Services does not have any more items other than what were on the consent agenda for
Thank you.
action.
County Facilities. Mr. Beckett.
Mr. Chair, without objection, I move adoption of resolution number 6157, appropriating $1,951.20 for Champaign County Nursing Home Construction Fund for invoice 1326396 from Dwayne Morris, and adoption of resolution number 6158, appropriating $796.35 from Champaign County Nursing Home Construction Fund for nursing home 1326397 from Dwayne Morris, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Betts. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Show of hands for approval. Hold them high, please. Motion carries.
No further business.
Thank you, Mr. Beckett. Policy, Personnel, and Appointments. Mr. Betts.
Good evening once again. I move adoption of Resolution 6172, establishing a county board committee to commemorate Champaign County's 175th anniversary of incorporation, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I move adoption of Resolution 6173, forming the Abraham Lincoln Bicentennial Commission of Champaign County, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Ms. Wysocki. Discussion. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
I move adoption of Resolution 6178, appointing the Abraham Lincoln Bicentennial Commission member from Champaign County, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. I'd like to point out that the members are from Mahomet, Savoy, St. Joe, Homer, and Fisher. Thank you. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
Move adoption of Resolution 6177, evidencing the intention of the County of Champaign, Illinois, to issue single-family mortgage revenue bonds and related matters, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosier, with the chair from Ms. Putman. Discussion. Ms. Putnam.
I'm just so proud and pleased that, what is this, our third year of being able to offer these service. It's just a wonderful, concrete thing that we can do to help people of low and moderate means in our county. And I want to thank everyone who's assisted with this.
Thank you, Ms. Putnam. Further discussion? Call the roll.
Langenheim. McGinty.
Yes.
Moline.
Yes.
Mosier. O'Connor.
Yes.
Putman.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Sapp.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter.
Yes.
Coert.
Yes.
Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
Gross. Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yes.
Weibel.
Yes. Motion carries.
I move adoption of Resolution 6179, appointing a special committee to study changes in the Champaign County administrative structure, and I so move.
Second by Ms. Kohler. Discussion. Ms. Putnam.
Mr. Betts, I would just like to bring to my colleagues' attention the fact that the members of the committee are Thomas Betts, Chair of the Policy, Personnel, and Appointments Committee, Brendan McGinty as a Democrat, and Steve Mosier as a Republican.
Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries.
There's no further business.
Thank you, Mr. Betts. Finance, Mr. McGinty.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6189, purchases not following purchasing policy, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6190, payment of claims, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Finance Committee recommends adoption of Resolution Number 6186, a budget transfer for $400,000 to cover anticipated line item shortages, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Beckett. Discussion? Mr. Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I serve on the Finance Committee, and this item came up for discussion last week at our meeting. And I just wanted to state for the record that this is simply a line item transfer from one nursing home account to another nursing home account. This money is not coming from General Corp. And I was quite disturbed last night when I turned on Channel 3 News and saw a lead item featuring our county auditor, where they implied that this indeed was coming from General Corp and that the county was, again, having to pony up money for the nursing home. And again, this is not true. And again, I think this bothers me especially because the county auditor was not present at the Finance Committee meeting last week when he could have brought this up. We could have discussed it then. And Mr. Buffenbarger, the administrator of the nursing home, also presented his budget a couple weeks back in our budget hearings, and the county auditor was not there either to raise the issues about the contract nursing. I just was disappointed to see this issue brought up again, when it's really not an issue. There's no problem with the finances at the nursing home. This is a common thing at the end of the budget year to move money from one account to the other to pay for the contract nursing. And I would ask, Mr. Chair, that we could bring Mr. Buffenbarger up to have him explain it further and explain the use of the contract nursing, because I think that's been brought forth as an issue.
Mr. Buffenbarger?
Yeah, this is a routine transfer of funds between line items within our budget that is several hundred line items long. You get closer to the end of the fiscal year, and that's when you start finding where your budget was off by a few cents here and there. In this case, it was off by a lot more than a few cents, but that's what happens every year with contract nursing. We guess how many of our own staff will have to take care of residents, and we guess how many contract staff will have to take care of residents, and that is entirely a shot in the dark, and so we just transfer money from one line to the other. No new money. We're not asking for money. I'm not asking for money. I'm just moving it around within our budget to cover the line item expense. Are there any other questions about that in particular? Yeah.
I'll just ask related to the comment I was going to make. Andrew, the issue of contract nursing is it's obvious, I think to me, having been in negotiations with you and all that that's an important issue to you, that this is something that is being addressed. We addressed it in collective bargaining. Contract nursing obviously costs more than employees. We want to try to avoid that, but it's being addressed, and if you could comment on that, I think that would be helpful.
Yeah, we are trying to address that. We have pretty intense recruitment strategies right now. We have a sign-on bonus, $2,500 sign-on bonus for new nurses that come on. That bonus is also paid to any existing employees who refer a nurse to us. We're in Health Magazine. We're in the News Gazette. We're on WDWS. It's a constant effort. We had a job fair at the nursing home when we opened our doors. We go to job fairs locally at Parkland and in some other places, and it's just a constant battle to try and get our own nurses to take care of residents in place of contract. The preference is always to have our own nurses to take care of residents instead of contract nurses, but it is a reality that we need a licensed nurse there to take care of residents all of the time. So when we don't have enough of our own, once we've offered all of the overtime and any shifts that our existing nurses want, then the remaining holes in the schedule are filled by these contract nurses. And, this is a case where it would be ideal. You see the ebb and flow of this expense over the course of time with the nursing home. It's been up over $1 million before, and then it goes down to less than $100,000, and it just does this with our market. This would be a perfect subject to get together a group of local healthcare professionals to talk about how to solve the problem. We have agencies that have moved into our market from as far away as Peoria and Springfield. These folks are moving in because they're finding that this is just a great business in our area. There is such a healthcare demand that nurses are able to go to these contract agencies and, get a pretty good salary. They don't get any of the benefits that we offer nurses. Folks who leave us to go to an agency, they give up pension, they give up a whole lot of paid time off, they give up a lot of things, health insurance sometimes. But unfortunately, it's a reality that some folks do that. A lot of our nurses in this market do that.
Mr. Carter, do you have a comment?
Yeah. When the last time the nursing home had a financial audit?
We have one every year. We have one every year through the county. The county auditor performs an audit every year.
We had one this year?
It would have closed last fiscal year. We'll have one again at the end of this year. It happens at the end of each fiscal year.
And I can make sure I'll make sure you get a copy of that, Mr. Carter. Mr. Langenheim?
I'd like to call for a roll call vote.
It has to be a roll call vote. Mr. Richards?
I guess I have two questions. Why is this been becoming so much of a bigger problem since 2003. It looks like we're at 10 times the rate it was then. And do you foresee this becoming an even bigger problem, continuing the trend next year?
Yeah, well, again, it's an ebb and flow thing. You're right. Before 2003, it was up over $1 million, and then it went down, and then it went back up. And will it become a bigger problem? Yeah, it will become a bigger problem. Healthcare organizations in our town continue to grow, so the demand for nurses continues to grow, but we have a limited supply. It's a nationally recognized problem, but particularly in our area, our local RN programs are having a hard time finding master's degree nurses to teach. And so they can only take in a certain number of students. And the number of students that leave the nursing programs in our local colleges is insufficient to meet the demand of our healthcare market. So yeah, I do think it's going to be a bigger problem.
Ms. Kohler?
Okay, I want to know what happened to the contract nurses that we were hiring, where that they could set their own schedule.
It continues to run and continues to be successful. What we find is that those nurses can only work up to 1,000 hours. And so we've now crossed over that midpoint in the year, so a lot of those nurses can't work right now at the nursing home unless they work through an agency. There's a limited number of hours you can work in a PRN program before you become eligible for IMRF. And once the county has to start paying towards IMRF, then that salary would go down, and it eliminates the entire attractiveness of that program.
Okay, one more question. Our permanent nurses, is there any reason why we can't keep permanent nurses there at nursing homes?
Well, the nurses that we have are the ones who are really interested in all of the benefits offered at the nursing home. They really enjoy the paid time off. They really enjoy the pension. They really enjoy the consistency of one workplace. But frankly, it's a wage war that's going on right now in our county, where there are contract agencies that are pulling nurses out of Carl and Pravina and Our Place and the Arbors and Helia, and they're paying them a small fortune, in some cases not even withholding payroll taxes, and they're able to just buy them away. And for some folks, that's particularly attractive.
Mr. James?
I would just like to say and make a comment. I know that due to the way this body operates, but I would like to see the day that the nursing home would be able, once a budget has been established, that things like this wouldn't have to come before us, because I feel those folks are dealing with it firsthand. They see what they need to do. He's basically taking money from one pot, putting it somewhere else. It's all the same money that was in the original budget. We're not extending him another loan or doing anything like that. And I just think that the day should come with all departments that they should have the authority, much as the sheriff's office and everyone else, that they can move that money. But yes, if they need other monies or a budget amendment of some sort, that it would come before us. Because a lot of this, I mean, he's doing his job. The audit's going to find it if it needs be, and we need to move on with business.
Mr. Carter.
Yeah. I wonder if I could get a copy of the last audit.
Absolutely.
Come by and pick it up.
We'll get you a copy. Mr. Fabry, could you provide that for Ms. Putman?
Well, I am pleased. I think everyone in the room, every single person recognizes that there will always be some need for contract nursing services, but that as much as possible, we prefer to have our own full-time staff who have relationships with our residents, who can improve the morale one-on-one with their existing. I didn't hear the press splash that my colleague referred to. I just know that we are requested to approve the transfer of $400,000. And yes, it is from one nursing home line item to another nursing home line item. But Mr. Buffenbarger, as much as you can look in that crystal ball, which I know is impossible, taking the $400,000 from the nursing services, Department 430, is that going to put pressure on that line item? Or will it just...
No, it's just a straight transfer over. What you don't spend in wages and benefits, you end up spending in contract nursing. And what you don't spend in overtime, it just balances.
Is it unit by unit equity?
Our budget is developed in aggregate. It only considers the entire home, and it doesn't separate it out by living areas.
No, I didn't mean living unit. I meant taking is contract nursing as expensive as or cheaper than the nursing services? I mean, if we're taking $400,000 out of nursing services, do you think that the nursing services line item will be feeling the pressure, say, in a couple months?
No, I don't. Okay. No, I absolutely don't. And you mentioned the media splash. I think that's an excellent way to describe it. I'm terribly available. I'm terribly available. I carry a county cell phone. You all provide, actually the nursing home provides me a cell phone. I'm available 24/7, 365 days a year, and I'm called round the clock. It's just the nature of my job. If ever, at any time, 3 o'clock in the morning on Christmas, you have a question about the nursing home, 217-369-9565. It's on my voicemail. It's on the footer of all of my emails. It's on my business card. I give it out to employees and families. I give it out to anybody who wants it. Give me a call. Any questions at all. The media splash honestly, it was a little unsettling. The first I heard about this was from Channel 15. I got a call while I was in Peoria at an education session this week wanting to know about this information that's been discussed publicly. I didn't know about it. So honestly, I really appreciate if you just 217-369-9565. You have any questions or concerns about the nursing home, happy to talk to you.
Mr. James.
Will you need a backup battery?
Is there any further relevant discussion?
Might need a budget amendment for that.
Last chance for discussion. Please call her.
I'd like to know, have you considered going into the schools and offer some of the nursing candidates tuition and get them to agree to work a certain amount of years for the county?
We've explored that. There's an excellent model program that's used here in town. I don't want to give away who does it because then somebody might go work for them instead. But there is another healthcare provider in town that does that very thing. They catch people at the beginning stages of their nursing education, and they offer tuition reimbursement, provided they sign a contract to work for X number of years for that provider. That's an excellent idea. It's not something we've gotten off the ground yet. We're trying to figure out how to make that work. I did speak with the HR department at that particular provider. It's one of the large hospital systems, and they indicated that they don't yield a lot of nurses from that. They said that's just sort of a trickle program for them, and it's combined with lots of other programs. They recruit from overseas and a lot of other things to try and bring nurses to our area. But yeah, that's an excellent suggestion, and it's something we're still looking at.
Mr. Carter.
Yeah. A little humor go a long way, but this here is getting serious. Every time you turn the TV on, there's something wrong with our nursing home. And if I'm correctly, this is the second time now that you asking for money.
No, I'm not asking for any money.
He's not asking for money, Mr. Carter. It's just strictly a budget transfer within his own budget. It's all nursing home budget.
Well, the money going to use of the nursing home?
Yes. This is money allotted to the nursing home for the nursing home. It was budgeted last year, at the beginning of the fiscal year.
Well, there's still something not right. It's not right and need to be fixed. And,
we would love to reduce.
I don't think it's not supposed to be laughing about.
But we're not laughing.
There's, if I could just point out one thing that is right, if you'd indulge me just for another 10 seconds. We do have
I'm counting.
A handful of quality indicators measured by the state each year that have broken through the top 10 percentile of the state of Illinois. So we have a series of clinical indicators showing how well we take care of our residents that is now in the top 10% of all facilities in the entire state. So that's something that's right.
That is private and public?
Yes, that's everybody. Thanks.
Further discussion, Ms. Anderson.
I would just like to say that Andrew is very available. I haven't called lots of times, but when I've called, if he wasn't right there, he called back right away. He's very available. And as far as the nursing shortage, it's all over the country. I still keep my membership in the American Nurses Association, and every journal has articles on this and the shortage, and your mentioning of the need for nurses getting advanced degrees for teaching. That's a problem in every state, and they all say it's going to get worse rather than better, and I know that we're trying to work with that and attract people and just keep going.
Mr. Langenheim. Microphone, please.
I infer from your remarks that you're not asking for money, that you would be able to say that at this particular moment the nursing home is in the black?
No, I wouldn't say that the nursing home's in the black, but I would say that I'm not asking for money.
Further discussion. Please call the roll. We need 18 votes.
Langenheim?
Yes.
McGinty?
Yes.
Moline? Yes. Mosier? O'Connor?
Yes.
Putman?
Yes.
Richards?
Yes.
Sapp?
Yes.
Schrader?
Yes.
Wysocki?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Beckett? Betts?
Yes.
Carter?
Sadly, yes.
Cowart?
Yes.
Dennett?
Yes.
Gladney?
Yes.
Gross? Hunt?
Yes.
James?
Yes.
Jay?
Yes.
Jones?
Yes.
Knott?
Yes.
Weibel?
Yes. Motion carries.
Final item on finance. Finance Committee recommends adoption of resolution number 6188, approving program change requests for fiscal year 2008, and I so move.
Second by Mr. Mosier. Discussion. See none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
I'd like to thank Mr. Tapley for leading this month's meeting, and that's all from finance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McGinty. Highway and Transportation, Ms. Cowart.
Nothing for board consideration.
Thank you, Ms. Cowart. Environment and Land Use, Ms. Wysocki.
The first item is I recommend the adoption of ordinance number 816, which amends the Champaign County Public Nuisance Ordinance number 468.
Second.
Second by Mr. Betts. Discussion. Okay.
I can't let this one go by. I think it's a terrible mistake for us to try and get into the controlling of burning debris into the county. I think it's ill-conceived. I know that we're being told it's mandated. I do not believe it's mandated. I do believe it is suggested. But I'm telling you, you're opening up a can of worms that we can't handle. And I think we need to rethink this very seriously before we jump off the cliff. And I would ask that this not be supported tonight.
Mr. James.
I would have to echo what Mr. Jay has just said. I feel that some of these ordinances that we go along with and we're told we have to adopt them or whatever, that we're constantly infringing on individuals' rights on their properties. I think that I have very fond memories of burning leaves and smelling that burning, and I know there's people that have lots of other problems, but we all share this planet and we're all taking care of it, so I'm in hopes that we do not pass this.
Mr. Betts.
What exactly is the enforcement mechanism of this ordinance?
I was going to ask Mr. Hall.
Mr. Hall, can you step forward, please?
My question is the enforcement mechanism. If someone's lighting a fire within that mile-and-a-half zone or mile zone or whatever, do they call the police? Does your office come out? Who enforces it?
Well, within what the amended ordinance does, citizens can call the sheriff's office or our office. It's in our nuisance regulations. The sheriff's office can actually issue citations. All our office can do is notify that there's a violation, and presumably after at least 2 violations, we would refer to the state's attorney's office if we're not getting compliance at that point. But again, the sheriff's office can issue tickets.
And the face value of the ticket?
I'd have to ask Susan.
By statute, Mr. Betts, the minimum fine for a violation of the county's nuisance ordinance is $100, and the maximum fine is $500.
If I could just say, the only place where this ordinance will prohibit burning of landscape waste is within 1,000 feet of Champaign and Urbana. Everyone else could enjoy burning landscape waste in our jurisdiction. And I have to correct one thing that I told Mr. Sapp prior to the meeting. Mr. J was correct in regards to burning of landscape waste. It does establish parameters within which you have to comply with those parameters, but you could still burn landscape waste everywhere except within 1,000 feet of Champaign and Urbana.
Mr. James.
Well, since I've been on this board, I always hear this is the way it's going to be, or we're getting a grant, or this is going to happen. And sure enough, once we vote on it, it expands on out. Probably what you're telling me is true, but that isn't what it reads in here about the territory and about the municipalities, based on what I read.
And you're reading what went. This is different than what went to the committee.
Number. I can't get to that, but I'm just telling you what I read. But and I'm just saying, until that's we're taking too many rights away, and we need to be careful with that.
Okay.
I promise not to belabor this, Mr. Chairman, but the real problem that's not being addressed here is the fire protection districts and fire departments out in the county are the ones that's going to end up with this mess on their lap. And we're not in the business of telling people they can or cannot burn. We're not in the business of telling them that if the wind's 10 miles an hour, they can't burn today. We don't have a wind meter to do that. It gives people a false sense of security that we're telling them that we're not going to be burning in the county, and that just isn't the case. And I'm telling you what you're doing, you're opening up a whole area that we do not need to open up at this point. Actually, there is laws on the books, and they're being perpetuated by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency to stop garbage being burned. It's illegal today to burn garbage anywhere in Champaign County. So that isn't an issue. That's already illegal. What we're trying to do is to enhance that with a county regulation that nobody's going to be able to enforce. I'm telling you, it's a nightmare. Please let it go.
Ms. Moline?
I have to say that I am in favor of this ordinance because constituents have called me who live just south of Windsor Road. There is no burning of leaves in the cities of Champaign or Urbana. And if you're outside of the city of Champaign or Urbana, but you live just south of Windsor Road, it's populated, densely populated. So this ordinance is to ban the burning of leaves within 1,000 feet of Champaign or Urbana. And I think that people are asking for that. Not just people who've called me, but in the past, people have come and expressed their concerns about this, and I think it's a health issue for people with asthma. When I've walked through this neighborhood south of Windsor Road, when people are burning, it's just smoky. I can understand that this doesn't inhibit people who live in the country, outside of 1,000 feet. I think 1,000 feet is very reasonable.
Mr. Sapp, you have a comment?
Well, I think the 1,000-foot mark, and she referred to it, will then expand. I mean, if you have 1,000 feet now and you're receiving complaints, as the indication is that there are complaints, then the people that are 1,000 feet from there are going to complain, and then 1,000 feet from there can complain. I think Mr. J's point being is, have we talked to the people that are going to have to attempt to enforce this and are going to have to, the fire protection districts who are going to have to provide services to go out there and try to mediate or put out fires. There is an impact. I don't think the impact's been looked at. I can't support it, nor will I support it, at least until it goes back and has some additional thought put into how this is developed. So.
Mr. Hall, can you tell me what the source of 1,000 feet is? Why 1,000 feet?
This amendment is based on rules that the Pollution Control Board has adopted. The Pollution Control Board rules say that they obligate local jurisdictions to enforce these rules, and the state's attorney office advised the Environment and Land Use Committee that we're obligated to enforce those rules. There's disagreement over whether that's in fact the case, but that's what we were told, and it would be better to have our own rules to enforce rather than the Pollution Control Board rules only. So it's based on Pollution Control Board rules. It's actually already state law, and this would be making it a local ordinance.
Mr. Sapp.
I do have another clarification, and I had asked this question before the meeting. On page 54, I think it's page 2 of the ordinance, at the top it talks restricted burning area, a zone existing 1 mile beyond the boundaries of any municipality having a population of 1,000 or more according to the latest federal census. In your clarification, you said that was for garbage.
Domicile waste.
Which is garbage.
Yes.
Household garbage. But my question being is, why would that have to be, if in fact that it's illegal throughout the entire county to burn garbage, why do we have to put something in there saying it's restricted within 1 mile of any boundary of a home? If it's already illegal by the state of Illinois to do it anywhere in the county. I'm not understanding.
Mr. Sapp, if I may, the EPA laws and the Pollution Control Board laws make a distinction between the burning of landscape waste and the burning of domicile waste. The definitions and the standards that are before you tonight in this proposal come from the Pollution Control Board. The local enforcement is required by statute. In fact, the county received a letter from the local EPA office telling us that we were not following state statute by adopting rules of local enforcement that enforce the Pollution Control Board standards. The local EPA office has received complaints from citizens in the area that Ms. Valine has described, specifically citing our delinquency and not making this enforcement. It's a statutory and administrative regulation requirement for us to adopt these local rules. I understand what Mr. Jay's concern is, because it does seem somewhat redundant that we have to adopt local enforcement when there's EPA enforcement. However, that is what the statute requires. That's what the Pollution Control Board standards require. That's now what we're being told by the EPA that we have to do. And that was the basis of our recommendation to the Environment and Land Use Committee.
Chris.
I would move to send this back to committee.
Second.
Second, Mr. James. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
Goes back to committee. One comment I'd ask those who have major complaints about that, please let Ms. Wysocki or another member of the ELUC know about that so they can try to work out those problems. And maybe even you can even attend the meeting. Thank you. Okay,
I move that we go into closed session pursuant to 5 ILCS 120/2C6 to discuss the setting of a price for sale or lease of property owned by the county board. I also move that the following individuals remain: the county's legal counsel, Mr. Hall, and our 2 administrators.
And the recording secretary.
And the recording secretary.
Second by Mr. McGinty. Call the roll.
Langenheim.
Ralph? Say yes. Say yes.
McGinty. Valine. Mosher. O'Connor.
Yes.
Putman.
Yes.
Richards.
Yes.
Sapp.
Yes.
Schrader.
Yes.
Wysocki.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Beckett.
Yes.
Betts.
Yes.
Carter. Cowart. Dennitz.
Yes.
Gladney.
Yes.
Gross.
Yes.
Hunt.
Yes.
James.
Yes.
Jay.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
Knott.
Yeah.
Weibel.
Yes.